Notice how in today's gospel reading, our Lord states very clearly, I have come as light into the world, and I do not judge anyone who hears my words and does not keep them, for I came not to judge the world, but to save the world. Now keep in mind that there have been various times, as we see in the scriptures, where our Lord spoke very critically of some of the Pharisees, some of the Jewish leaders, but he wasn't condemning them. He wasn't judging them in that sense. He was just trying to get them to change, to make them realize that they were holding on to a wrong position, having a wrong attitude, and that they need to address their faults, their sinfulness, their lack of charity, their lack of belief. However, as long as an individual is alive, that person has the possibility of transforming themselves, changing their attitudes, changing or overcoming their sinful habits. So it is possible that some of those Jewish leaders that initially rejected our Lord, condemned him, some of them may have converted. We don't know. So it's always possible. And as long as somebody is alive, we cannot condemn anyone. But we are called to speak out against wrongdoing. We are called to speak out against sinful behavior. And this is what the church continues to do. This is what Christ did. This is what the church continues to do. Now, some people, as you know today, they are very critical of the church, and they say, well, the church condemns homosexuals, for example, which is totally false. The church is loving and welcoming of everyone. Homosexuals, drug addicts, prostitutes, we are welcoming of everyone. However, we do speak out against sinful behavior. So we tell, people, even young people, don't engage in premarital sex, for example, right? It's not that we're judging them, but we're saying what you're doing is wrong. So you may have a disposition to do certain things, but that doesn't mean you should act on it. Imagine if everybody just acted on their impulses. Imagine somebody had the impulse to kill someone. So many people would be dead if people acted on their impulses. So just because we have an impulse or an inclination doesn't mean it's okay to act on it. And, we all need to be taught morality. Deep down, we have a sense of right and wrong, and many things we clearly recognize as being right and wrong. But nevertheless, society is very influential in getting people to change their conscience and to make people think, oh, well, abortion is okay, or this is okay, and that's okay. And it's not okay. And often deep down, these people do know that it's wrong. And that's why, as I mentioned so many times before, they get angry when we proclaim the truth to them. So the church doesn't condemn anyone. In fact, it's interesting to note, when we think of Judas Iscariot who betrayed our Lord says of him, it would have been better for him not to have been born. But the church never officially declares that Judas is in hell. It's something that most people assume, but the church never declares that. The church never declares anyone to be in hell. The church declares people to be in heaven, the saints. So we canonize the saints. The church canonizes the saints. And in like manner, the church never condemns anyone. Everyone is welcome and invited to belong to the Catholic Church, to be a follower of Christ. But the church does have the duty and the obligation to speak out against sinful behavior, wrongdoing. And I think it's true that sometimes as priests we're negligent in doing enough of that. And so it's not surprising that people are led astray by media and they start believing the false message of the media. It's important that we know the truth. And it's the truth that sets us free, and it's the truth that we will be judged by. Not our false perception of reality, but rather what the truth really is. Your perception of reality may be different. Your perception even of your own gender may be different. But there is a true objective reality. And that's important that we realize that, because that is what we're going to be judged by. And if we don't accept reality as it is, then we're not going to be able to live our lives the way that we are called to. This is like so obvious, right? So we need to accept the truth, and Christ reveals this truth to us. And those who say, well, oh, that's just Christ, he lived 2,000 years ago, or the church is just a bunch of old men, they don't know what they're talking about. Well, as I mentioned many times before, it's not just the official teachings of the church. You can look at these things empirically. The empirical evidence shows that premarital sex and all these, pornography and all these things are harmful and detrimental to individuals and to society as a whole. So we need to follow the truth. We need to live in reality, and it's the only way we can be happy. It's the only way we can have good, healthy societies.